Welcome to the Facts and the Truth. We're going to talk about the immigration deportation issues that are in the news lately. Okay, so I'd like to premise this first by talking about the three branches of government. We have the president, we have Congress, and we have the Supreme Court. Now, the Constitution describes the duties and how those are elected to those positions in Article 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution. Article 1, Congress. Article 2, the President. Article 3, the Supreme Court. Now, we have a case now that is at the Supreme Court, and coincidentally, they decided to muck up the Supreme Court's holiday weekend, Easter weekend, by attempting to file something that they deemed an emergency. Now let's look at that emergency. They're saying that it was an emergency because harm would be done to people who are in the country illegally. They crossed the border without permission, which is a crime. It is against federal immigration law to cross the border without permission. So, the Trump administration is trying to deport these people because not only did they commit that crime, but they have been labeled as criminals, having criminal records in their home country and or criminal records in this country, and affiliation with gangs that are deemed terrorists and enemies of the United States of America. So, how can the ACLU or any attorney or Democrat decide that harm would be done by a criminal, an enemy of the U.S., being deported out of the country, when we have multiple immigration laws that basically say that is what needs to be done? So, this was filed in an emergency with the Supreme Court on a holiday weekend when the Supreme Court justices, this is my opinion, may have just wanted to move on with their weekend with their family. So only two justices decided that, oh, this is not proper. And the other said, oh yeah, go ahead and pause the deportations for now. Okay, but let's listen to the dissent, the argument against pausing the deportations, as written by Judge Alito. In sum, literally, in the middle of the night, as I said, the court issued unprecedented and legally questionable relief, meaning granting what was requested because they believe it's relief for these criminals. Granting legally questionable relief without giving the lower courts a chance to rule. So they skipped past other courts without hearing from the opposing party. So they didn't even let the Trump administration make their argument, hear their side. Within 8 hours of receiving the application with dubious factual support, dubious meaning, well, this doesn't sound. It doesn't sound solid for its order, and without providing any explanation for its order. Alito says, I refused to join the court's order because we had no good reason to think that, under the circumstances, issuing an order at midnight was necessary or appropriate. Both the executive and the judiciary have had an obligation to follow the law. That's pretty descriptive of what the other justices may have just simply ignored because they were inconvenienced potentially. Again, that's my opinion. But think about the opinion of a Supreme Court justice that has long sat on the Supreme Court. So, this is absolutely something to think about because he called out a few facts that, yes, the Trump administration has been following the law. Now, let's take a look at one of the arguments that people have been saying is that, oh, well, this guy did not get proper treatment when it came to his so-called rights in the courts. Well, let's take a look at 8 USC 1357. Okay, this is law on the books, so it's fact. This covers the ability to apprehend an illegal alien within the United States without a warrant. Okay, so I'm going to read this verbatim. Any officer or employee of the service is capitalized, meaning immigration service, authorized under regulations prescribed by the Attorney General, shall have power without warrant to do a number of things, but mainly we're focusing on to make arrests for felonies which have been committed and which are cognizable under any law of the United States. Now, cognizable, what are they talking about? They're talking about any immigration official that has the power to arrest without a warrant. Should they know, in other words, they go, hey, there's that guy that we're after. He's guilty of these crimes. I can arrest him without a warrant. It's the law. So, now, guilty of any law against the United States regulating the admitting, like coming in, allowing in, exclusion, expulsion, which is another word for deportation, or removal of aliens. They're actually saying it two different ways. If he, in other words, the immigration official, has reason to believe that the person so arrested is guilty of such felony, and if there is likelihood of the person escaping before a warrant can be obtained. That's how they allow this to happen, because they're deeming these criminals so bad, these illegal alien criminals, so bad that if they're identified and they're aware of their record, and that record could just be that they are member of a gang that is considered a threat to the United States, they can arrest them. But it gets better. The person arrested shall be taken without unnecessary delay before the nearest available officer empowered to commit persons charged with offenses against the United States. That could mean a judge bringing them before an immigration judge and saying, this person is not welcomed in the United States, and here are the reasons why. They're guilty of this, they're guilty of that, or they are just gang affiliated, and our president has deemed that gang a terrorist threat. That judge can then immediately say, well, okay, what say you? But I have evidence. Sorry, I hereby sign a deportation order for you to be removed immediately from this country. So I don't like hearing about all these people whining that, oh, that guy didn't have his day in court. He did. Twice. And twice he was given the tag of being a member of MS-13. Oh, but there was a holding order. Yes, he was issued deportation orders and then a holding order because, oh, he was afraid to go home because the gang was going to be a threat to his life, threat to his safety. That no longer holds true. So you either deport to an alternate country or to his home country. He was deported to his home country. Where's the crime in that? Where's the misstep by the government? It doesn't exist. If you'd like to look this up yourself, again, this is 8 USC 1357. Feel free to look it up. This is fact. This is law. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell, and I'll come at you with a few more videos like this.